Welcome, everyone, to the Big Game James Show. This is your host, as usual, James F. Thomas IV, known as Big Game James, and other nicknames as well that you'll have to find out on your own. But today we're asking ourselves, to DH or not to DH? That is the question. That is the question on today's program. And I'm going to invite everyone to go over to facebook.com/BGJ show to provide their answers or to comment on this. And I'll ask once again after we get through this. But, starting out, oh my God, everyone look. A pitcher just got injured playing baseball, so let's just overreact and say that a baseball player shouldn't perform duties that the other, roughly 70% have to perform. And here we go again. People complaining about not having a DH in the National League, all because an athlete gets injured performing a task that he's not particularly good at. Let's go back to Adam Wainwright's injury earlier this year, this past April. He was injured when he tore his Achilles as he left the batter's box trying to run to first base. I get it. I really do. I get it. It was a freak accident. We need something or somebody to blame, or, something in the least. We got to blame, lay the blame somewhere. So let's just blame the tasks at hand because, someone wasn't very good at doing it. And now, you can't do the tasks that you enjoy doing and the tasks that you are good at because you were injured doing something that you're not particularly good at. I get it. Let's, this kind of circular logic makes sense for some reason. So, let's put it this way. What, if David Ortiz got injured playing first base in an interleague game, would we start talking about not letting DHs play in the field ever? Let's throw it at you like that. It's a bad example, but, he shouldn't be playing first base if there's a DH in both leagues. That's that's one way to answer it, I suppose. So should we put a rule in play to not allow a position player to come in, say, during the 17th inning to pitch because the last guy blew out his arm? Let's come up with an answer for that one. Many of you out there are going to say that I'm biased because, I'm a fan of the National League style of play, though my favorite teams reside in the American League. But I'm just a good old fan of the National League style of play, leaving the pitcher in, strategizing around that. But let me lay out some facts that I've been thinking about here. So, no DH. Pitchers swing a limp noodle. Most sacrifice bunt. On the other hand, the DH is usually the power hitter, leading the team in both RBIs and home runs often. Another way to think about it, no DH. Pitchers get pulled in the fifth due to scoring opportunity and a team needs a better hitter. On the other hand, pitcher goes until he reaches a jam or his pitch count. No DH. The bullpen and bench players get lots of use for strategic changes. Usually there's no one left to play by the 13th inning. On the other hand, we're always surprised by some new player pulled off the bench or pulled from the bullpen because they play once a month. No, let's go back to no DH. Double switches, the dreaded double switch. On the other hand, how about two light switches? No DH. Pitchers have to deal with revenge for chin music. On the other hand, pitchers send out their position players to pay for their chin music. No DH. National League teams lose good hitters or lose the opportunity to sign good hitters that are just horrible defenders. On the other hand, the American League can sign players that are not athletic enough to perform tasks by most players. And finally, no DH. The National League teams lose out on good pitchers that are horrible hitters. Boo-hoo. On the other hand, the American League can sign players that are not athletic enough to perform tasks by most players. Just said that one. Captain Obvious here. I get it. People tend to enjoy offense more than quality pitching and strategy. I get that. People love high-scoring games. They love seeing 500-foot home runs. You know, they love seeing lasers. They love seeing pitchers get owned. You know, they don't want to see adversarial pitchers. They want to see, you know, softball strategy. They want the pitcher to kind of, you know, toss balls to their beloved hitters so they can knock them out of the park or knock them wherever or hit wherever or, you know, give the defense more strategy to play. I get all of that. I get the fact that if it weren't for the DH, we wouldn't be watching guys like, say, A-Rod and Ortiz so late in their careers so often. You know, my question here is, do other sports prolong athletes' careers by letting them only perform a single task in the game? I never saw Michael Jordan come in to only shoot three-pointers or free throws or, you know, easy layups, only to be benched, you know, when necessary. I never saw Joe Montana come into games to throw a hook and ladder to Jerry Rice and then go back to the bench. And did Wayne Gretzky ever come onto the ice just to shoot a wrist shot and then go straight back to the bench? I don't really recall any of those scenarios, nor do I ever recall any of those scenarios being used strategically. Simply put, I'm going to go out on a limb here and just tell you the DH ruins the game and only adds a bit of flair, a very minimal bit of flair. The National League plays the game of baseball, straight up. They use strategy. And let me explain this with just a couple of scenarios. Scenario number one, your pitcher has only given up 2 runs in 6 innings, but there's 2 men on with 2 outs. Your team is down 2-0, and the pitcher is up to bat. So what do? Do you pull the pitcher and put in a hitting specialist, then have to pull the sub from the game to bring in the next pitcher? Or do you let the pitcher attempt to hit and help his own cause? Scenario number 2. Man on second base, 1 out. Do you have the pitcher bunt and move the runner to third? Or do you let him swing away? Scenario number 3. You got 2 outs, men on the corners, and your pitcher has thrown 110, let's say, 115 pitches, and his spot is up to bat first. He's going to lead off the next inning. Do you burn a relief pitcher to maybe face a single batter and then have to substitute in a batter for him in the next inning? Or do you double switch and move the relief pitcher to the previous batter who was your number 5 batter, you know, coming in at the number 5 spot? Or do you leave the pitcher in and hope he gets through this last batter? I mean, I could keep going on with these scenarios, but these are some pretty basic scenarios that, you know, come up pretty much in every single game played. You know, but the fact is that in any of those scenarios, an American League team wouldn't have to think twice about what they do. They wouldn't have to strategize through these things. The pitcher never bats. The DH would just come in, or whoever's batting would just come in and swing away or do what they could to move the runners. They bring in a relief pitcher pretty much whenever they want, and he can face as many hitters without thinking twice about it. So, what am I not seeing here? Why do people like the DH so much? I mean, I can infer you like it because you love you love the added drama of you know, smacking the ball around the park pretty much at will. I'm sure that people who like the DH also hate the shift. I'm not particularly a fan of the shift, but until players start beating these, you know, until you start beating the shift, I would also stack the defense in my favor once again. I'll continue to do that. And no, Max Scherzer, I would rather see you personally, you know, this is a personal opinion right here. I'd rather see Max Scherzer swing a wet newspaper any day than pay someone a ton of money who can only perform a single task. That's fine, you know. So I suppose Max Scherzer is the exception to the rule. So if I'm wrong here, to say that, you know, bringing in a DH and disallowing the pitcher or precluding the pitcher from performing a duty that everyone else has to do on offense, please go over to facebook.com/BGJ show and let me know. Let's start a conversation over there. let's try to keep it democratic as well. But so I'm going to ask you to keep your opinions and questions to a civilized, proffer them in a civilized manner. But nevertheless, let's start a conversation. Facebook.com/BGJ show. Let's do it. And for now, let's just ponder this question: to DH or not to DH? That is the question. And I'm Big Game James Show, or Big Game James Show. I'm Big Game James Show. No, this is the Big Game James Show. And I'm Big Game James, and I'm out of here. And I'll see you next time. I'll see you over there on Facebook.com/BGJ Show. For now, iHeartRadio, Big Game James Show, signing off.